This is Matthew McConaughey.
Natalie Portman.
James Patterson.
Michael Ian Black.
And you are listening to
Five Questions
with Dan
Schawbel.
Will, welcome to Five Questions.
Thank you so much, Dan. I'm happy to be here.
So your parents were both in the service industry. What lessons did your parents instill in you about hospitality, and how did you translate that into your own career?
So my mom was a flight attendant for American Airlines. My dad was the president of a company called Restaurant Associates. I'll give you one lesson from each of them. My mom, when I was young, she got sick, and it unfortunately led to her becoming a quadriplegic. But she managed to show me love even beyond the point that she could walk or talk. She would have her nurse push her to the end of our road every day when I was coming home from school. And when I was walking down the block, seeing the smile on her face showed me, hospitality is this idea. I don't think of hospitality as an industry. I think of it as an approach that people take in pursuing relationships with other people. And she showed me firsthand that the most genuine and heartfelt displays of hospitality don't require saying a single word. It can be through a smile, through eye contact, just through this profound energy you can kind of thrust out in the world and direct at other people. And it's something I've tried to embody ever since. My dad, and it's kind of the yin to that yang, he taught me that adversity is a terrible thing to waste. That life will throw some obstacles in front of you. There's no controlling that. There are going to be challenges. There are going to be disappointments. You can't control that, but you can control how you react to those moments. That for sure, people need the grace and the space to feel the weight of the disappointment or sadness to whatever has just happened. But then you can either learn from the experience, or you can allow it to make you stronger, or allow it to make you angry such that you become more competitive. And hospitality, when you commit to a career in it, by the way, it doesn't matter what you do, you can make the choice to be in the hospitality industry. It's a human thing, right? Like, you're pursuing something that relies on humans. And when you're running a human organization, it's a journey filled with pitfalls. And how you react to those pitfalls not only defines who you are and what your company is, but it galvanizes the community around you in such a way where they're able to really bring their most fully realized selves to the table every day.
That was a powerful answer, and those are great lessons learned from your parents. I always am thankful of my first service job. I was working at my temple doing catering, and the skill set, when I look back and kind of analyze that part of my life, is learning how to deal with difficult people, learning how to deal with people in general. And that's helped me through my entire career, is being able to kind of communicate and understand and have empathy and really connect with people. And hospitality, it's not easy, and I think that you always remember the good waiters or the good experiences you have at a hotel or whatnot. But you also remember the really bad ones.
Yes.
Usually the extremes.
Hospitality for me, it's a discipline and an approach to relationships, right? And that's what my book is all about. It's about how to be intentional in your pursuit of relationships with other people, those that you work with and those that you serve. And I think it, in many cases, transcends work and bleeds over into life.
Definitely. And you've managed large and diverse teams at some of the finest restaurants. What have you found as the best method to develop talent in hospitality? Because this is a huge topic, as you know, with restaurants struggling to find, or even hotels struggling to find people to hire. So what do you do to do that, to make this work?
One of the the debates in my industry is whether or not you can teach hospitality. There's plenty that say you can teach excellence, but you can't teach hospitality. You hire the people that have hospitality in them, and then you teach them the technical skills to complement that. I disagree. I believe you can teach hospitality. I believe it's a muscle. I think it's a craft. And even if someone listening like vehemently disagrees with that, the thing I can 100% defend is the idea that you can encourage it. You can draw it out of people. I think that the best way to get a team of people to embrace the idea of hospitality, to understand how much energy and pleasure you can derive from showing graciousness to other people, is to start by showing graciousness to them. There are few better ways to know how good it feels to provide hospitality to others than knowing how good it feels to receive it. I have this belief system that if there was a law passed tomorrow that everyone in America would go to jail if they weren't really nice to everyone that worked at the Department of Motor Vehicles, I think the DMV would suddenly be a really great place to go. And so I think sometimes people are frustrated when they hire people and those people don't automatically care. But you need to show them how good it feels to care by showing them how good it feels to be cared for.
Yeah, it's being a good leader, right? You want to be the role model for other people, and if you care about other people first, they're more likely to care about you and others at the same time. So
Yeah.
it's really, setting the bar high and doing the right things and being kind. I mean, kindness is free.
Yes. Yeah. And not only is it free, but I think you actually get something from it, right? Like I don't think there are few things as energizing as seeing the look of complete joy on someone else's face when they receive a gift you are responsible for giving them. When my gas tank is nearing empty, the best way for me to refill it is actually to give a little bit more, because I get so much more back in return. I think it can so quickly become the most beautiful addiction. Like, I'm addicted to going above and beyond for other people because I get as much, if not more, out of the exchange than they do. And I think when you build a culture around that, when you can show people through giving it to them and giving them the opportunity to give that to others, it's nothing short of extraordinary what you can accomplish.
And from a business perspective, I mean, I believe the highest attrition is in the hospitality industry. And therefore, by doing the right thing and everything that you preach, like, that is also a business tool. It's a retention tool for keeping the best people because they want to continue to align themselves with someone who treats them well.
Yeah.
And you share a lot about building a hospitality first culture. What's the biggest takeaway that other industries can learn from restaurants in building this culture?
The big message for me in this book is to encourage people to be, you look at so many businesses, whether it's technology businesses or banking businesses or construction or insurance, people are pretty unreasonable in how they produce the product they're serving. Like, you look at Steve Jobs and Apple and what went into creating the iPhone, like, so unreasonable, right? Like, this desire to create something amazing. I believe that in some of the greatest restaurants, we are just as unreasonable in pursuit of how we make people feel. And I think coming off the last few years where, listen, people didn't stop spending money. People got plenty of stuff, right? The thing that people were missing more than anything else was a sense of connection. I think that making good products is no longer enough, and serving them efficiently is no longer enough. I believe it's how we make people feel that matters most of all. I believe we're on the precipice of becoming a hospitality economy. And hospitality is always used to define restaurants and hotels, right? It's generally used to define an industry. But I think so many other customer service businesses can really pursue not just what they're making or the efficiency with which they're serving it, but the way that they give a sense of connection, a sense of belonging, a sense of welcome to their customers. I think it has a transcendent impact on an organization.
I totally agree. We actually just did a study with a company called Airspeed of 1,600, the C-suite employees, and we actually found the number one reason why people want to quit their jobs is because of a lack of social connection.
Yeah.
So that
and
lines
so,
right up with what you're saying.
yeah. And by the way, I'm not only talking about how we serve people, I'm talking about how we lead people too, right? Like in this new work from home, hybrid work culture, right? Like you think about leadership for a long time. A great leader was just the one that had the confidence and conviction to say to their team, this is where we're going. And people followed that person. Then at a certain point, that wasn't enough anymore, right? People wanted to not only know where they were going, but why they should be inclined to want to go there. But now I think we're entering a new phase where, here's the thing, in the before days, a few years ago and before that, community happened organically within a team, whether it was around the metaphorical water cooler or at happy hour over drinks. Like those things that automatically happened amongst colleagues helped turn them from a collection of individuals into a community. That's not happening organically anymore. Leaders now need to learn how to be good hosts. They need to create the conditions wherein their people connect, because only when they become a trusting team is a collective creativity and capacity unlocked. In restaurants, well, some restaurants, we become very good at creating the conditions where people can connect around the table in a few hours, and taking those same lessons and applying them to business cultures such that a bunch of colleagues actually feel a connection to one another. Because there's data on this. People are far less likely to leave for another job if they have a colleague who they consider a best friend.
Yep, it's true.
But if everyone's in their different homes and the leaders aren't being very strategic and intentional and focused about creating that sense of community, it's going to be a problem. And so that's where I believe hospitality not just impacts the people we serve, but dramatically impacts the culture of the company that we're serving them from.
Great point. And you share a lot of examples in your book about creating memorable surprise and delight moments. Why is it so important for brands to adopt this mindset?
So people in like the next generations aren't collecting things as much. They want to collect experiences. The difference between the good and the great are those that create an experience that is so singular that it helps the people relive that memory over and over and over again. Because if there's not a memory that's unique or powerful enough to help you relive the experience, then that's not an experience worth collecting. I believe that hospitality is about making people feel seen. The best way to do that is not to treat them like a commodity. It's to treat them like a unique individual. And for me, that means that one size fits one. These surprise and delight over-the-top gestures that only come about when you're present enough to listen to what people are saying, that you have the autonomy and the resource to react to those things and deliver these experiences that make people feel like you're paying attention to them, that they're not just a number, but a name, they're a human being. When you give them that sense of belonging, when you give them the kind of memory that can last a lifetime, that forges a relationship that will last a lifetime as well.
Definitely. Yeah. Creating positive employee and customer experiences, because if you do that, then people will keep returning and returning and returning. But it also puts pressure on on restaurants to innovate at the same time, because people want unique experiences as well.
Yeah, but the pressure is actually also an invitation. You look at most restaurants, the majority of the people that work there are just helping to realize someone else's vision, serving plates of food that someone else created. If you create an environment where people have the agency, the invitation, the opportunity, the permission to come up with cool ideas that allow them to improve someone's experience, they have a sense of creative empowerment that gives them more of a connection to the work. They are able to come up with ideas that directly impact the guest experience. It turns salespeople into product designers. And the moment that you are someone that actually can imbue the thing you're selling with a piece of your own creativity, that's when you not only become a much bigger believer in the product, but that's when your emotional connection to the work becomes much stronger. And so, yeah, is it hard to always having to be coming up with new ideas? Yeah. Is it energizing as well? 100%.
And what's your best piece of career advice?
My dad told me when I was a kid to keep a journal. And he told me to keep it for a number of reasons. The power of reflection at the end of the day. When you're journaling about your day, it's when you recognize that maybe you didn't handle a situation as elegantly as you could have, and it prompts you to either make sure you deal with it better the next time, or if that situation involved you leading a team, it gives you the opportunity to go in the next day and apologize to whoever you fell short with. But he really told me to keep a journal because perspective has an expiration date. The greatest leaders are the ones that are the most empathetic. And I'll use my career as an example. When I was a server, I had the perspective of a server. And at the time, I thought I'd be able to tap back into that perspective forever. But the reality is you can't. Once you become a manager, for a few months, you can still think like a server, but eventually that goes away and you can only think like a manager. Then when you get promoted to being a general manager, the same thing happens. Then an owner, the same thing happens. In telling me to keep a journal where I memorialized my perspective, later in my career, I could always tap back into it. And when I was managing servers or managers or general managers, I could use my own experience written in my own words when I was in that role to get me back into that mindset, which helped me lead them with a greater sense of empathy and a greater sense of effectiveness.
And you can tell when someone has been a waiter maybe in their childhood and is being waited on, that there is this degree of empathy because they were that waiter back in the day. So they know what they're going through. They know some of the, they're more likely to actually tip more. And I don't have research that says that, but that's my assumption, is that there's a financial level of empathy as well.
Yeah, for those that can still tap into that perspective. There's many that I know people that were servers, but it was so long ago. Now they're the CEO of something, and they've lost any sense of empathy for the people that are where they once were. Journaling allows you to memorialize your perspective in a way that you'll never lose.
That's so beautiful. Well, that's great advice, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.